Support us as we continue to inform and illustrate the beauty of our community through this performance on 94.1 FM KPFA.
And you are listening to 94.1 KPFA and 89.3 KPFB in Berkeley, 88.1 KFCF in Fresno, 97.5 K248BR in Santa Cruz, and online at kpfa.org. The time is 3:30. Stay tuned next for Cover to Cover with Jovelyn Richards.
Welcome to Cover to Cover, Jovelyn's Bistro, and happy afternoon to you. That music you were hearing is by my guest, Nekia Wright. She is a flute player, and also she works with sound bowls that she uses for medicinal purposes. Today's show, we're going to talk about music, special education, which Nekia has been a part of for over 10 years in the D.C. area, and now she's here in the Bay Area bringing her gifts, her talents. So we'll talk a little bit about the impact of music on special education, impact of music in our lives just in general, but more than that, at the core of that will be how music heals and the intentions of her work that she's doing. And she'll tell you how to get hold of her at the end of the hour. Hi, Nekia. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Jovelyn.
You're most welcome. So you are a self-taught musician.
Yes.
Okay. And let's tell the story of how you got into music, why you got into music, and what path has that led you on up until today?
All right. So originally it was through singing, and my mom had been. I didn't get to spend a lot of time with my mom when I was a child. She left and was incarcerated when I was 5, and I didn't hear a lot of really great stories about my mom from my dad's side of the family. However, one thing that they would share with me was that she sang, and she was a beautiful singer. So I wanted to sing. And so as a child, I sang all the time. I loved singing. I would sing and perform for my family, and I just really enjoyed it. And as I got older, it was very difficult. I had a difficult childhood, and I wasn't as inspired to sing. And I just didn't really think about music as something that would be something I would be able to have as like a career or profession. And I ended up going into education, which I really enjoy. It's really just about learning, and I love learning. So unfortunately, I had a lot of trauma from my childhood that as I was teaching, a lot of that trauma came up, and I ended up burning out from teaching special ed. And I began just trying out things to figure out just how to heal, like how to bounce back, how to get my life, like have my life together again. And I changed my diet, I changed my lifestyle, I quit teaching. I was working 15 hours a week, doing yoga, going to meditation groups, and really just tried to go at it from all sides to heal.
A wraparound program for yourself.
Exactly. And I had a lot of friends who made music, and I just really admired them, and I noticed how music just really fulfilled them in a way that I wanted to give it a shot. So
what were they doing with music in their life?
Oh, so I have a friend, Amber Walson. She's a music teacher in D.C., and she taught music for elementary school. She would teach, lead like children's musical theaters and things like that. She was a flautist. And I had some friends who played guitars, friends who were in bands. teacher friends who, played music on the side. So, just a lot of friends who played music. And one day I went up to Amber and I was just like, I want to learn an instrument. And she loves the flute. So she was like, hey, okay, you should play the flute because that's her jam. So she found a flute for me for a really good price. And I tested it out for a while, and it was hard, and I didn't sound very good at it, and it was, it took a while for me to even figure out how to get the sound out, because it was a transversal flute, and so, but I kept at it, and I really enjoyed the feel of playing it, the breath.
So the breath is involved in this here.
Mm-hmm.
So you're in this transition, you're wraparound service for yourself. You're noticing, if I'm hearing you right, that everyone around you that seem to have a foundation, they're involved in music.
Yep.
And at the same time, this is something that you said, that was the one connection with your mother.
Exactly.
Was her voice. Her voice was it was her instrument. But it's something that you kind of said, I'm not going to be able to do this here with my life, so I'm going to go into education because I love learning.
Mm-hmm.
And so you go into education because you love learning. And then you're working in special education and you're triggered.
Yep.
You're triggered. Do I assume that you're triggered by the students?
It was
the behavior.
No, not as much. So I did have some really crazy experiences while teaching, and really it was the feeling that I was doing something that I thought was good and servicing people, and when I delved more deeply into it, I found it wasn't. It was actually possibly causing harm.
So you have to share with us what that really means, particularly since all of us are one way or another involved in education. We have some of our listeners who are also teachers, and this is the summertime and a time for them to regroup and do some self-healing. And so you may be speaking to a lot of teachers. We have parents that may be listening and with children, and so what that could mean for them. Is the education undermining them, which has been a topic that's been out there. So we're listening to Nekia Wright, self-taught musician who taught for over 10 years special education, who is now turned specifically to music and music as a way to heal. That's her work. That's the story that she's presenting in her life right now. And she's here at KPFA Studios with me, Jovelyn Richardson, cover to cover, Jovelyn's Bistro. So what is a snapshot of what that looked like where you began to doubt whether or not you were actually doing more harm than good? What's an example?
An example specifically with special ed is kind of how students were classified. So I was in D.C. D.C., at that time is about 30% white, 30% black, 30% Latino. But as a special education teacher, the majority of the students I worked with were black or Latino. The majority were black, and the highest majority of those students were black males. And so statistically, that seems impossible, that so many children or so many black males specifically were in special education, were classified as having disabilities. And those disabilities sometimes were very subjective. So say, for instance, an oppositional defiance disorder, that, to be defiant, but if you're a black male or a black female or any person of color in an American, traditional classroom looking at a history book, that history book does not always resemble the facts of history. And so if a child questions that, a good teacher would take that question and use it as a learning experience. Okay, let's go deeper into this and let's understand, why do they have here? Why are they not calling these people enslaved people? Why are they calling them indentured servants? Which are little shifts that start happening in the textbooks to kind of hide the truth. And so it's a great way to help students to dig deeper and to be a part of that, creating, the story. But some teachers may choose to to say, well, this is what the book says. You got to do this assignment. You need to do it this way. And if you don't, you're not following directions. And if that happens enough times, there's enough.
You have a defiant disorder, and you're a special ed.
Yeah.
So a student who is existing outside of the narrative that they're studying pushes back and say, I have a question. And if that question continues, then they're now special ed, and you felt that at a certain time it brought up some things for you and it created burnout.
Yes, because I was one of those children who pushed back. Fortunately, I had a grandmother who had been a part of the education system, and she actually, when her children, when my dad and my aunts and uncles started school, she got a job at that school because they were some of the first children to integrate that school. She wanted to ensure that her children were treated properly. So
that's a truth that we all should embrace. I know many parents, that's sort of the knee-jerk, like I need to be a part of this here. I need to understand. I need to know who's coming home to me at the end of the day. Mm-hmm. When I ask that question, how was your day? And many kids say, it was okay. It was, but how was your day? And your grandmother, family decided, I want to be a part of what that day looks like. So we'll fast forward, and now you are burnt out, and you're in search of your own healing.
Yes.
You go to a friend, they say a flautist, which is a flute player, and you start playing, and you start to understand the vibration of the music.
Mm-hmm. At the same time that I started playing flute, I was getting deep into meditation. So flute is a lot of breath work. So it with the combination of the breath work that I was doing for meditation and flute, it kind of gave me, playing the flute became a way that I could ground myself. And even before it started to sound good to other people, it felt so good to just play it. And then at that,
that's a aha moment. In that, before, just repeat what you said, before it started to...
Mm-hmm. Before it started sounding good to others, I'd watch my friends while I was playing, and I'd see them cringing a little bit when I first started, but it just felt so good to play, and then I was fine to play alone and get better, and it inspired me to want to, because another reason why I wanted to play an instrument was to learn to communicate and engage with people in a different way. Most of my engagement had happened, like at parties or bars. And once I started taking care of myself, and I wasn't able to drink, I couldn't hang the way I used to. And I didn't really want to. It wasn't that fulfilling for me. I wanted to connect on a deeper level. And so being able to play music with people and create something, with our music was just that it really, so I was inspired to want to keep getting better so that it would sound good to others.
You're listening to Nekia Wright. She's a self-taught musician, also has worked over 10 years in D.C. with special education. And from what I understand, you're now fixing to go into a Ph.D. program to continue in education.
Mm-hmm. So that's my goal, is to apply this year for a joint program with SF State and Berkeley. They have a joint doctoral program for special education. And what I do with the sound and with music, and I think it would be a great alternative intervention for students who are classified as having disabilities, both, disabilities such as autism, to students with emotional, delays or social emotional delays, and to offer just an alternative that will actually allow them to learn how to heal themselves, connect them with these tools, as well as to learn how to manage their stress and to learn how to engage with others in healthy ways. And I just think music offers a lot of opportunities for that.
What I also like that I'm hearing from you is that in pulling back out of the system as it was, and then to take care of yourself and find tools to do that, that you're going back inside of it because you originally started because you learned, school is learning, and you love learning, and as we all do, we love to learn something new for the most part. And then what also I heard, I think that's really important, that would be very beneficial for people, period, and then as it trickles down to the beautifulness of children learning, that you were able to say, I could fall in love with what I was doing before it began to fall in love, before others fell in love with it. So you were able to fall in love with the process of learning, even if others cringed because they were more professional. The other part I like what you said that I think is important for our ears is that when you changed your lifestyle, no bars, no drinking, no whatever comes with that, you needed a way to continue to talk, to communicate. So you're talking through music, another way to be able to have an experience with human beings. And I think that's incredibly important as we witness technology. And most people are not being able to experience the intimacy and the connectiveness with other people. And music might be a way to get them to pull back and have a conversation outside of the social norms of that, which is beautiful. And so in doing your healing work, where are you doing it at?
So mostly at the Bayview YMCA and over at the Senior Center in Bayview as well.
And Bayview is over in San Francisco?
It's over in San Francisco. And I love it. I love being able to serve that community. I have a group that's been running for about a year now. They actually, it's an adult group, and they learn how to play the instruments. Everyone knows how to play the instruments now. We record a meditation track, so I bring in a loop device and a microphone and record their music, and then we put it online so that they can listen to it and meditate to it throughout the week.
And they create this here meditation tape themselves.
Yes, it's make your own meditation.
Okay.
So I just found in teaching that people are far more invested if they have a part, if they can actually be a part of the creation. And one of the beautiful things about the singing bowls is they're very easy to play. And you don't need a lot of technique to get a beautiful sound out of it. And so people who joined the group because they wanted to learn how to manage their stress, they didn't think of themselves as musicians. But every week we come together and we make music together.
And I imagine that in doing that, like you say, as you in your language, you say, well, it's not something that you have to have rigorous study in order for it to be aesthetically pleasing to the ears, which is sort of how we structure ourselves as people. Like if it doesn't sound a certain way, then it's not good. I want to go back for a moment. When you said that you were able to play and it felt good, it felt beautiful before you became completely articulate into what you were doing. It's almost similar to what you were saying in terms of education when children push back. If they're able to experience their curiosity and say, why this isn't there, what's going on with that doesn't feel right, that's a way to be feeling good, particularly if someone responds and says, I love your curiosity. Yeah. Let's talk more about that. That means, because I think we all know this that are listening, that we've heard that saying, there is no wrong answer. Questions, there is no such thing as a bad, there's no such thing as a bad question.
Exactly.
And so when we think about that, that's what children should learn to do very early on. Like, why is this book or this song or this story feels uncomfortable for me? Why are these shoes too big? Why is this hat? It's something that I've never seen anyone wear in my household or in my life. What does that mean? So it's similar to being able to play music without the restrictions of people saying you're not getting it perfect. Yeah. But you're getting it from the place where you're at. And that's what questions are. Here's my question. What do we do with that question? So I'm going to invite you, just because one of the things that me and Nekia talked about before we went on the air, we're going to do a couple things. One is that we're going to take a music break with her music. At the very end of the show, which happens in about 8 minutes, we're going to do a guided meditation with the sound bowl so that you can hear that out. Try to create something that you could do probably with your breath work as a listener. You're listening to Cover to Cover, Jovelyn's Bistro, and we'll do a guided meditation so you could do it at home. So if you're having tea, if you're hanging out, we'll do that and give a sample what that can look like. Some of you may have experienced this before, but right now, Nekia, let's do a sound music break with you playing the flute.
All right.
And as she's getting herself ready to do that, I want us to think about, here's this wonderful woman who's in the, Washington, D.C., working with children, special education, goes for it, and then is burnt out. So particularly if your teacher's listening, you're thinking, oh, yes, Nekia, I know that story. Or if your parents, like, oh, yes. She took a break, pulled back, and decided to, in many ways, regain what she missed from her mother, the one story she heard, and it was music. And so here's our music break with Nekia Wright. So hush, little baby, don't you cry. You know what, as you was playing that and I realized the song, I thought, that's sort of how we think about children in school. They're there to learn. Like, what did you learn today? What happened in school today? And some of those moments that are not pleasant, particularly in a world of bullying, in a world of when teachers are maybe not quite getting it, or they're under the structure of a system that's bending them, and they can't give their all in the way they want because they have all the criteria they have to meet or be penalized, whatever that means. But at the very end of the day, there's something wonderful that's happened. Says, hush, little baby. Hush, little baby, don't you cry, which is what happened to your life. As I look in your life and the moments we spent, hush, little baby, don't you cry, and you found your way and surrounded yourself with yoga, meditation, and people and music.
And the next verse is, one of these mornings you're going to rise up singing.
Did you ever regain your voice again to sing?
I did on your stage.
You sure did.
In Spanish.
Yes, you did. That's right. That's right. Can you sing a little excerpt of what you sang then?
Ooh. Gracias a la vida.
Now, because I know the backdrop story, I have to ask you your permission. Can you share that? We heard a little bit about your mom in the beginning. Was just to recap our audience, the KPFA listening audience. Nekia's mom was in and out of her life with more out than in, and that ended up in the prison system. And the song, this little snippet of a piece of song, this little snippet of the song, I don't want to say the word piece, she sang. Tell us about that song.
So, on International Women's Day, I woke up and I wasn't feeling well. It was and I didn't know what was going on. And I got up and I was playing the song, the Gracias a la Vida. It's by Violeta Parra. And I was playing this song, and I was playing it on flute and singing it. I've been learning it in Spanish. And there's a part of the song where she says her feet are so tired. And I just kept breaking down into tears. And I started to think, you know, something's up, something's not right. And the song is, Violeta Parra wrote this song about, she wrote the song about 1966, the same year that my mom was born. And then she took her life a year later. And just after playing that song, I played one video, and then I received a phone call that my mom had passed away. So that's how the universe shared that information with me. It sent it to me through that song.
The song that was there the day your mother was born.
Mm-hmm.
Let's do the soundboard. We have about a minute and a half. And so I want to thank Nekia now. We played the soundboard for sharing the healing sounds of music, her life and special education, her dream to move forward and to continue. And I want us all to think deeply with our breath right now as we listen to the sound bowl that she plays. Our breath. The healing sounds of vibration. Where our imagination takes us, where mine takes me now is a small little town. And people of all backgrounds are walking, joining on the road together, moving. Church bells are ringing, calling. Hands are holding, fingertips are touching. Faces rise up to the sun. The sun reaches back. We listen to the vibration, the evolution of humanity. Some children skip, some twirl. Grown men clap their hands. Doors open. A woman's inclined to bend her head and laugh just because laughter feels good in the moment. Somebody hopes for rain just because they got hope in their pocket on the day. That's what I imagine. Breathe. Thank you for listening. Thank you to my guest, Nekia Wright. Thank you, Erica. Do your vibration.
Make a smart investment. Support KPFA Radio today. We make the most of every dollar donated by producing truly independent news, analysis, cultural, and public affairs programming. You are essential in keeping that information flowing and KPFA on the air. Invest today. Become a member or an ally as a monthly sustainer. Online today at kpfa.org. And we promise to stay as vigilant as always.
Two heroic whistleblowers present a fascinating expose when Mel Goodman and the great Daniel Ellsberg discuss Goodman's urgent new book, Whistleblower at the CIA, an insider's account of the politics of intelligence. Goodman will join Ellsberg on Wednesday, June 21st at 7:30 p.m. at First Presbyterian Church, 2407 Dana Street in Berkeley. There's wheelchair access. Flashpoint's Dennis J. Bernstein